Hello, this is a video on how to attach a button to a slide. You'll enjoy it. If we take a look at a slide with no button, you'll see that it has a post cut into it. Buttons fit because they have a round hole that's drilled of the same diameter, and you can slide it onto the post. Buttons come in a variety of shapes. This is one that you'll see on quite a few. This was used on honers for quite a long time. It's not a bad button. It's very comfortable at this angle of attack. That angle of attack, but anytime you get to the side, it has this edge, and that's sharp to the fingers. They're not bad, but I don't use them. This is another one. This one's actually concave, so it has a ridge. It kind of bites the hand no matter what angle you do. This is the one that I've done that's custom, what I call an ergo button. Very comfortable. Comes out a bit more, about almost a quarter of an inch farther, and it's comfortable at all angles of attack. This one's already been on an instrument or a slide before, so it has glue. You use krazy glue or epoxy. When I'm working with these compounds, I always have an index card and a toothpick because you do not want to touch this stuff. It's very hard to get off your hand. I test to make sure it's coming out, and it is. I simply come to this piece here, and I'm going to fill that gap in with krazy glue, right like that. And then I take this and make sure it's clean, and I should be able to simply insert the slide in. Now you'll notice that it has to come all the way down and seat properly, and this one hasn't, so I'll tap it into position and work it back and forth with my hand until it's absolutely proper in its fit. I still have about a fifth of a millimeter to go. Sounds different when it's seated. Absolutely perfect. Now, typically, when you're putting on one that has a hole in the bottom, you have to be very careful when you let it dry that it's correctly aligned, because it'll have a tendency to go one way or the other, and it'll look crooked. I'm talking about this, but this one I jammed on so hard and it already had glue in it that was dried, and so I don't have that problem. But the alignment of the button to the slide is extremely important, and you want them lined up properly. You wouldn't want it at an angle. You want it just like that. This will be dry in about 4 to 5 hours. And if I were going to do something more aggressive with the slide, I would have covered it with tape, duct tape, and then wood on both sides and wrapped it with duct tape, because I don't work slides with my raw hand if there's a lot of pressure being applied. But this was a direct down hit. It didn't need protection this time. In other words, you don't want to be working with a slide where you might bend it. They're very, very sensitive to crimps. So this is it. And you'll see this is the ergo. This is actually prototype 3 of the ergo button grouping I've designed. I like it. It's a little more modern on the side here, kind of a fluted shape. Reminds me of an Italian design maybe. The one that I use often is a little more bulbous. I'll go grab it for you so you can see it. This is prototype 2. See, it's fatter. It's not as pretty. This one's a little more kind of, I suppose, I don't know, more fashion sense to it. This is prototype 2. The first one I ever made had a flute on it that came forward, kind of another extension 1/4 inch longer. That was prototype 1, but I just cut it off to reuse it this way, and we did it in the machine shop. It was difficult to do because the hole hadn't been drilled in the back end that far, but this is probably my favorite shape. Although this one has been more popular with a lot of people. They like that one better. And you want to be sure, of course, that you don't have any extra, glue dripping down or anything.